In a heartbreaking case that united a community, the disappearance of 11-year-old Gannon Stauch sent chills down spines in his chilly hometown of Colorado Springs. An inch of snow fell that winter's day on January 27, 2020, when young Gannon vanished without a trace from the safety of his own home. But little did investigators know, they were about to uncover an appalling account of deceit and betrayal. But there was something about Letecia. Something you couldn't quite put your finger on, but you know it's something you'd never want to touch. With her conflicting explanations and disturbing behavior, the court of public opinion was turning against her. A life not yet begun was lost, and a father's heart was forever broken. Get ready as we plumb the depths of human darkness, because this is absolutely criminal. The red river of life that flows within all of us carries the details about our identities in its DNA. When police arrived at the Stauch home on that awful day, a revolting revelation emerged when a crimson stain was discovered on Letecia Stauch's footwear. The blood on her sole would expose her dark soul, capable of inhuman cruelty. The very person Gannon trusted to provide for him and keep him safe betrayed him in horrific fashion. Letecia Stauch, well, she's a piece of work, as you'll soon learn, but it's important to pause and reflect upon Gannon and what he meant to those around him. A young life filled with youthful innocence, boundless energy, and limitless possibilities. Gannon Stauch was born on September 29, 2008 in Loris, South Carolina. His biological parents are Albert Stauch and Landon Hyatt. Gannon was known as G-Man by his friends and family, and he enjoyed playing video games. He also had a younger sibling named Lena who affectionately referred to him as Bubba. He was a particularly special delivery because he was born more than 3 months earlier than expected. The doctors thought he only had a 10% chance of survival. Regardless, Gannon beat the odds and grew into a normal, healthy baby boy. Gannon's father Al would go on to marry Letecia Harden in January of 2015. If this was a horror movie, you'd be screaming at him to run away from that church on his wedding day. Don't go in that door! This, however, is unfortunately real life. So the newly forged family would settle in the heart of the majestic Rocky Mountains in the city of Colorado Springs. From the towering Pikes Peak to the enchanting red rock formations in the Garden of the Gods, the city is known for its beautiful landscape. It's a shame that this haven of art, culture, and innovation is now tarnished by this alleged human being, Letecia Stauch. With society still blissfully unaware of the major changes about to happen in their lives in 2020, Gannon's disappearance was the only thing local residents were talking about. Soon they put their words into action and launched a massive search for the missing boy. January 27, 2020 began like any other day in the Stauch household. Gannon Stauch embarked on his daily routine with his usual exuberance. Tragically, by day's end, Gannon would be gone, and Letecia Stauch would begin to weave her web of bewilderment across the suburban enclave, and she was terrible at it. As investigators navigated through this nasty net of lies, confusion ensued. The Winston Churchill quote of "a riddle wrapped in mystery inside an enigma" would probably sum up cops' perceptions of Letecia. Would detectives be able to separate truth from falsehoods? Well, yes. It would turn out that the riddle she wrapped herself in wasn't nearly as clever as she'd hoped. The following audio is from a police body cam just minutes after Letecia's 911 call and mere hours after Gannon was last seen. It's impossible to gauge the cop's initial reaction to her opening monologue. Had she rehearsed this in her troubled mind before they arrived? One gets the sense there's something amiss.
So he was supposed to be here at 6 o'clock because we were going to eat dinner. And he said he was off restriction today. So he was going to go play with his friend. He didn't come back at 6, so I looked outside and saw it was sleeting, So I said, well, maybe he's waiting on one of us to come get him, So we drive to the neighbor's house, which I'm assuming he's at the neighbor's on the corner's house. And they're like, no, he's not here.
Having established where Gannon is not, police ask Letecia if she has any idea where he could be.
I'm almost positive he is with someone that he knows because he searched on his phone, can my parents find me if my phone is off?
So, an 11-year-old boy plotting to run away makes searches on his phone in preparation for his plan. Okay, maybe. Cops didn't know it yet, but Letecia made some suspicious searches of her own that day. I'm getting slightly ahead of myself, but trust me when I say you're going to want to hang around for that part of the show. Meanwhile, what of the preteen's plan to part ways with his parents? Though rare, it wouldn't be unheard of, especially in a chaotic and harmful household. But as we listen further, the boat Letecia is attempting to float is beginning to spring a leak.
He also, and I'll let you look at this, sent my husband some crazy stuff that was like, husband message says, do we have any bath salt? And it says, my friend said if I get some, we could play.
That's right. Gannon Stauch texted his own father to ask him for bath salts. For the uninitiated, we're not talking about the sort of thing you'd find at Bath & Body Works. Bath salts is the street name for a group of illicit substances that are meant to mimic the effects of various uppers. They were once widely available in head shops and even gas stations in convenient little pouches, but they are now illegal in most jurisdictions. Come to think of it, even if young Gannon was referring to the fragrant fizzies, the situation would sound equally as implausible. Either way, it was soon becoming clear that at the very least, Letecia would have some explaining to do.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what we got. And then, and we did, my husband was like, go through his book bag and stuff like that. We found like a cigar.
As you heard when rifling through Gannon's belongings, she found not cigarettes, not pot, but a cigar. Because, it's cool to look like your old man in front of your peers. While we're making light of Letecia's labyrinthian logic, it's also important to acknowledge how wretched her words have become. Next, the police ask her about her video recording doorbell at her front door.
Well, the only reason I asked, it looked like there was a Ring doorbell.
Yeah, we already, that's how I told you that we already knew that he had left. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we already reviewed the footage, officer. It was totally worthless. After Letecia seems to imply the existence of video, the lawman inquires if he could, see it for himself. Well...
And what time was that? Just so we have it for dark.
We don't have the video recording. We just have the thing on the Ring.
Oh, okay.
We don't pay the fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her voice kind of trails off there at the end, but it sounds like her doorbell wasn't recording because she didn't pay the fee. According to the makers of her Ring doorbell, a basic feature on all models is motion detection that records video when activated. Cops knew this too, and the Ring footage, which did in fact exist, would go on to become pivotal evidence in the case. You'll hear more about that later in our story. But first, if you watch Absolutely Criminal and want to support the show, just hit thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and ring the notification bell. There's also some cool stuff to check out at absolutelycriminal.com. Buy our stuff. But for right now, let's see what other swings Letecia takes when her first at bat is a decisive strikeout. In the wake of Gannon Stauch's disappearance, the Colorado community rallied together, launching a widespread and determined search effort to bring Gannon back home. The initial moments were fraught with anxiety and urgency, as neighbors, friends, and strangers alike joined forces in an outpouring of support. Flyers with Gannon's image adorned every available surface, and vigilant search parties secured the surrounding areas. Law enforcement agencies and volunteers coordinated their efforts, conducting extensive ground searches, utilizing canine units, and employing aerial reconnaissance to cover vast expanses of hostile terrain. Social media platforms became a vital tool in the disseminating information and mobilizing the public. Online groups dedicated to the search emerged, where individuals shared updates, coordinated search efforts, and offered words of encouragement. The digital realm transformed into a virtual command center, and the story transcended the true crime community to become a part of national conscience. As the days turned into weeks, the air of desperation surrounding the disappearance of Gannon Stauch began to thicken. The very internet that banded together to find Gannon had set its sights on Letecia. It was February 3rd, and Gannon's stepmother found herself in the crosshairs of public scrutiny. Responding to a barrage of online comments vilifying her, Letecia made an emotional plea stating, "I took care of Gannon for the last 2 years in our home. I would never, never, ever hurt this child." Yet, the next day, a chilling piece of evidence emerged. A neighbor came forward with surveillance footage that showed Letecia leaving the house with Gannon that day and returning hours later, alone. The footage captured on the morning Gannon disappeared showed the boy walking slowly as he approached and got into a red pickup truck with Letecia. When she returned in the truck at 2:19 p.m., Gannon was nowhere to be seen. Despite the mounting suspicion and palpable tension, Letecia maintained her innocence, even as Gannon's biological parents made heart-wrenching pleas for information on their missing son.
I love him so much. He's not only my hero, he has multiple people that call him his hero as well.
Then, on March 2nd, the tide would turn against Letecia. She was arrested in the beautiful Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, charged with first-degree murder of a child under 12 by a person in a position of trust, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with a deceased human body, and tampering with physical evidence. With this, the search for Gannon had taken a dark and tragic turn. The investigation was no longer a search for a missing child, but a pursuit of justice for a life brutally cut short. But the torrent of evidence had only begun to flow. Investigators delved deeper, uncovering a mosaic that painted a chilling portrait. While the precise details of the evidence remained shrouded in secrecy, fragments of information seeped into the public consciousness. Each revelation ratcheted up the tension, compelling investigators and observers alike to confront the grim reality that lay before them. Gannon Stauch was dead. If Letecia was attempting to slink out of the spotlight, it wasn't apparent in what she did next. Responding to a relentless cacophony of critical voices online, she took to the airwaves, granting one of the most unusual interviews we've ever seen. With her back to the camera and huge aviator sunglasses just in case, Letecia began the interview about finding her missing stepson by using the word "I" dozens of times in the first few minutes.
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about anything with the case. I would more so be willing to talk about how the community needs to have faith and continue to work together and not make these false accusations, like the things that have been said that I've disappeared from the community. I haven't been there to help, but there's lots of reasons behind that.
She claimed to be deluged with death threats and so-called conspiracy theories from online sleuths. In reality, the nosy netizens were on to something.
2, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home, and of course I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't.
Later in the same televised interview, perhaps sensing she was tanking hard, Letecia went to Plan B. She would pause the inquiry to fetch her daughter, then 17 years old. Letecia insisted that her daughter would back up her claims that Gannon returned home with her that fateful afternoon. Letecia had just returned from a hike with the boy, her story du jour. Certainly independent corroboration from a fresh-faced teenage girl would quash any harsh public sentiment toward the shifty stepmom. All she would have to do was tell the truth. Letecia was not in a gambling mood, however. She wanted a sure thing. You see, the fact that she was wearing a lapel mic apparently slipped her mind. Take a listen.
Yes. I need Harley. Because they want you to verify was Gannon at home after the hike. Because you didn't go to the hike, but you came home from work.
Do you want me to just say yes?
No, just answer the question. Yes, you came home from work and you can verify Gannon was at home. Yeah.
Hot mic moments have ruined many a career in the media, but Letecia's open mic mess-up stood to cost her much more dearly. In what totally doesn't resemble a hostage proof-of-life video, the coerced adolescent follows Mama's orders.
Yes, so I came home later that evening. I was at work, and I can verify that he was there that night.
So there was a hike that you guys went on, but then you guys came home.
Yes.
Where'd you guys go hiking?
Garden of the Gods.
Oh, that's okay. I guess when
And then we ate Burger King afterwards, so, you know.
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, we're certainly convinced. Next, the reporter asked the self-proclaimed victim about, her missing stepson, the one she has professed love for, tirelessly caring for Gannon while his father was away on active duty. What was she most looking forward to when Gannon was brought home safe and sound? Her response was little more than lip service before arriving at her real point. She wants Gannon to come home, so she's completely vindicated.
Message for Gannon I have is, Gannon, when you get here, you'll be able to truly tell what happened. And then I really hope I get a sincere apology from everyone who has made all those things, especially from my husband.
But of course, Gannon wouldn't be returning to fix her public image. He wouldn't be returning at all, and lying Letecia knew this all along. Keep that in mind when you watch the following performance, which seems to have been tacked on as an afterthought.
Did you come home soon? Again, I can't wait till you can come home and let everyone know that you're okay. We love you.
Stauch would later admit there had been warning signs in his marriage to Letecia, but the decorated soldier would never have imagined a scenario where a bloody battle would occur, not on the battlefield, but in his own abode. Letecia Stauch's trial commenced in 2023. In the opening statement, District Attorney Michael Allen addresses the jury, giving them an overview of what they believe the evidence will show. The key question in this case revolves around the defendant's sanity, specifically whether she was insane at the time of the alleged crime. The jury will receive instructions on the legal definition of insanity and how it relates to the charges. The prosecutor emphasizes that the evidence will demonstrate that the defendant was capable of distinguishing right from wrong and forming the specific intent required for the charges. The prosecutor then shifts the focus to the victim, the 11-year-old boy who had overcome such premature challenges in life. On January 26, 2020, something terrible happened in the Stauch family home, resulting in Gannon suffering burns. The defendant recorded a video that night in which she manipulated Gannon and placed guilt on him for a mistake he made. Gannon expressed his concerns about his burns, revealing his distress.
And I promise this is the last time I'm going to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose? Pinky promise. Okay, all right, so listen. We're gonna have to sell stuff to fix it, okay? So we figure out what we gotta.
She would later tell her husband, for the time being, that Gannon burned his hand on a candle so bad that the wound blistered and peeled, which he then wiped on the wall. The prosecutor highlights the defendant's intentional actions to sell items and fix the burns, attempting to cover up what had occurred. Allen then describes the horrifying events that unfolded the next day, when Gannon's bedroom, the supposed safe space, became a site of unimaginable violence. Letecia viciously attacked Gannon 18 times, resulting in defensive wounds on his arms and hands. She then delivered a crushing blow to his head, fracturing his skull. Not satisfied, she retrieved a 9mm handgun and fired 3 shots. one of which entered Gannon's jaw and ended his life. The prosecutor reveals there were red droplets splattered on the walls and ruddy pools on the mattress and carpet. After committing the heinous act, said the DA, Stauch took deliberate actions to hide her crimes. She placed Gannon's body, along with the blankets and pillow, into a suitcase and stuffed them in a basement storage unit near his bedroom. She attempted to clean the room, furiously scrubbing the walls and carpet, but left behind evidence of Gannon's blood mixed with her DNA. She then tried to distance herself from the murder, concocting multiple stories about Gannon's disappearance to create a tornado of misinformation. Allen then details the defendant's journey to Florida, where she dumped the bag containing Gannon's remains off a bridge, hoping he would never be found. 48 days later, the suitcase was discovered, bringing an end to the search for answers. Then there's the blood-soaked blankets and pillow found with Gannon's decomposed body. The prosecutor concludes by emphasizing the importance of weighing the evidence and making a judgment based on credibility and coherence. In his opening statement, defense lawyer Will Cook did not dispute the killing, but advised jurors not to prejudge the case, despite widespread media coverage. He maintained that his client has dissociative identity disorder and had experienced physical and sexual abuse in her past. He was a good lawyer, doing the very best with what he had to work with. Let us know in the comments section, who do you think would be a tougher client to represent, Letecia Stauch or Sarah Boone? Check out this link to Sarah's latest letter of lament. By the time Letecia's lengthy trial was finally wrapping up, court personnel and the public alike were exhausted at the spectacle, especially when the verdict seemed like a foregone conclusion. Perhaps the most difficult parts to watch were the emotional victim impact statements delivered by Gannon's parents, Al Stauch and Landon Bullard Hyatt, as they appealed to the judge for the maximum sentence. Their testimonies reflected the devastating impact of Gannon's tragic death on their lives.
I miss you, Gannon, and I love you to the moon and back again. I know every day you're with me and your sisters, but that will never be taken away. The ache that I have for you, to hold you, to hug you, to tell you how much I love you, and to see your smile. For 3 years, I have questioned every single possibility and scenario. For 3 years, I have tried to forgive you, but I can't. I want to. But no parent should have to bury their child. She destroyed dozens of lives of people who never wanted to believe that she could have done this. Mother to mother, I trusted her with my children while trying to survive a complicated life with my third child. She had everyone fooled. She projected abuse and addiction claims against all of us, not just me, when all along she was the one harming innocent children.
Al Stauch, Gannon's father, capital Father. Last name Stauch. Stauch. Gannon was born severely premature and barely filled my two hands the first time I held him. At the end of his life, after his body was cremated into a pile of ashes, he was ultimately no bigger than the first time I held him. When I met Tisha, she was beautiful, extremely intelligent, as many have testified to, and a seemingly successful woman. A far cry from the nappy-headed, murderous, narcissistic, and arrogantly flippant human being that sits in our midst today. Get it? I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought you'd be in danger, buddy, or I know I wouldn't have not left you. At home with what turned out to be your murderer and the last person to ever see you on this earth. I'm so sorry.
Recognizing the gravity of the case, Judge Warner characterized the facts of the crime as the most horrific he had ever encountered. He subsequently sentenced Letecia Stauch to life without the possibility of parole. The verdict was right and just, but for Gannon's loved ones, it must have been a little comfort. Their hearts, heavy with the weight of loss and shattered dreams, yearned for a different outcome, a reality where Gannon's infectious laughter still echoed through the hallways, where his bright smile illuminated their lives. The cold truth of justice, though necessary, provided little solace in the face of their irreparable grief, leaving them to navigate a painful existence marked by the absence of their beloved boy. If you need to just have some comic relief right now, click on these episodes and laugh at the absurdity of Chandler Halderson's preposterous plans. And of course, who can forget the staggering and slurring of our friend Sarah Boone? Go ahead and cleanse your palate with one of those and subscribe, so we'll see you next time. From all of us here at Absolutely Criminal, we love ya.